This is, what game is this? The Between, Mask of the Tiger, Part 12. So in our last episode, which was ominously titled Redacted, if you're paying attention on the YouTube playlist, we resolved the Waitley camera, and many other things happened, which we won't dwell on for now. But I will just say that you currently have one active threat. It's your last threat before you face Theodora and the Coven. And that threat is the Spider Silk Seamstress. Now, this is the one where a Fey seamstress is essentially hollowing out fine people all around London, including one of Hargrave House's colleagues, or not colleagues, but associates, Sir Richard Harlow. And you have got to figure out a way to get her to stop. And you have three options here on the questions. The simplest one that probably has the most dangerous resolution is, how is the creature ensnaring her victims? It's a complexity 4, and it allows you to resolve the threat by having a hunter lure the seamstress as bait, then capturing or destroying her. The next highest complexity is, what is the creature's true name? That lets you use the power of her true name against her, dismantling the power that binds her to this realm. And then the most complex question, but the safest if you pull it off, is a complexity 8, which is, what does the creature truly want? And this one, I'm going to read it directly from the threat sheet, because what we have written there is not complete, really. Resolve the threat by striking a bargain with the creature in accordance with ancient Fey customs. And then basically, there's basically just some different options there. Well, that's not quite right. Yeah, so we'll just start there. Striking a bargain with the creature in accordance with ancient Fey customs. As long as you keep this agreement, you have access to a move called Draw the Veil. So that's sort of the deal there. And you also have access to a Janus Mask aspect called the Mask of Glamour, which is still available. So that's sort of where things stand with the threats, the only threat. And the characters, everyone's kind of doing okay on conditions, except for Ms. Sand, who has all 3 filled. But the others are okay, more or less. Burnright's condition, the Sapphire, could be problematic when the mastermind threat starts, but otherwise I think it's probably not too bad. Yeah, you have 6 clues right now, and you could definitely get this resolved pretty straightforwardly today, I think, which might be beneficial for those of you, Ms. Sand, who have lots of conditions and indeed have very few Janus Mask marks remaining. So those are all things to be aware of. Or Mr. Goodfellow, who's very, very close to having the reflection completely tapped out.
I
So with
have
all
to
that's
survive at least until we face Theodora and the
yeah,
Coven.
get that far. Yeah. Okay, so with all that said, let's do the day phase and find out what everybody wants to do today. Mr. Burnright, or Burnright, I should say.
I'm just
I promised you some leads too, actually.
Yeah.
I promised you some leads on this mystery, on this threat before we got going. I will tell you that you have not yet looked into any of her other clients, and I have a couple of names for you there if you want them. In fact, just tell me you want to like talk to one of her clients and we'll sort it out then. But yeah, but that's probably like the most, I don't know, that's the kind of thing you haven't done yet. You've done made good progress without talking to any of your other clients, but those are the options. So, okay. So Burnright, what do you think?
I definitely want to do a vulnerable move. This is going to be a little bit weird because of my custom move actually engages with the vulnerable move in a weird way. But because I'm having the Mask of the Tiger condition, I'm allowed to request a vulnerable move with anyone, but I can't engage with their vice. So I would like to request one with Miss Sand.
Okay, and so we have to do your vice though, right?
Mhm.
So, which is cigars.
Cigars.
That seems like a thing Miss Sand would be into. Miss Sand strikes me as a
Yeah. I'll smoke a cigar.
at least a
Yeah.
cigarillo type.
Mhm.
I definitely have like an elaborate holder for one. Right?
yeah, exactly. I love it. Like on a little holder thing. Miss Sand, if you're okay with that, where is this scene going to be held? Burnright, what's going to be happening?
I think it's going to be held within Hargrave House, like I think like probably the parlor or something where I'm just like looking out the window, smoking a cigar, just trying to think about things.
I love it. Take it away.
I would also recommend Miss Son take a look at my custom move.
I will do that. Thank you for the nudge.
Right, currently, although he's not wearing the mask as to of the tiger to cover his face, it's still very clearly on his person, still like sort of hanging like off of like a lapel rather than being placed hidden away in a pocket. The Sand.
In my head, I enter the parlor and it is raining very heavily outside. So you are standing in front of an open window, smoking a cigar. And I think I think I will take out my own cigarillo and put it in this like long uh holder that I have for it that is definitely carved. I think the forms on it that are carved into it are the kind of thing that out of the corner of your eye give you the impression of like a silhouette of a dancer, but when you look straight at it, it's really just kind of these abstract shapes. And so I think I will walk up to you and just say, "Got a light?"
Mhm. I strike up a match and light your cigarillo.
Well,
Miss Sand,
right.
you've obviously noticed the tensions in Hargrave House recently. They're coming to a head now, Miss Sand.
I agree that they're coming to a head. I am going to quibble over the word recently. I recognize this is somewhat counter to your interests, Burnley.
Is it now?
Wow.
Hargrave House has always been my business. And it will
Oh, I
continue to
didn't
be.
mean that
so.
you were disinterested. I meant that would you not prefer for the house to be kept together, pointed the same direction?
People come and go from Hargrave House, but the building stays the same. It draws in wayward souls. Sometimes these souls need a bit of cleaning up.
I wonder how clean any soul in Hargrave House can be. That said, is that what Burnright wants or what the tiger wants?
The question is there really a difference between the two?
Did you take off the mask?
No.
Has one of our compatriots denied you something that you wanted? Sorry, I'm gonna reword them.
Mhm. I suppose the questions are meant in this moment. Will you take off the mask? Because it's on my lapel. You could always just grab it.
Would you like me to unmask you?
No. But with me like this, I don't think you would want me masked. My hand reaches out towards you, seemingly to stroke your face. When I'm like this, Hargrave House has a complete change of cast. Are you going to do something about that, Miss Sand? Or shall we begin anew once again? And then this tiger will go to sleep.
I think I will lean into the touch and take the mask from your lapel. And I will hold it in my hands, not quite out of your reach. And I will say, I think it is time for a change of cast. We've been fighting the same fight. Seems this whole time, certainly for the last several weeks, a change of cast would make it good. But I think we have a few more things to do before that happens. That said, I would be happy to join you in a little house cleaning.
That feels good.
Mm-hmm.
How did conditions go there?
Obviously, I have to remove the mask of
The
the
mask
tiger.
of the tiger. Yeah, that was good. It was a good way of clearing that. What say you, Ms. Sand? You could probably make a case for any of these, I think, depending on how you're feeling.
I think I am going to clear you reap what you sow. And I think really I am going to clear that because of my formed intent to join, like to do some house cleaning. And specifically, I think Julius is first on my list.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He's vulnerable because it's daytime. So yeah. Good. Let's check in with Mr. Goodfellow. Mr. Goodfellow, what do you want to do today?
I think I'll check in on some of those extra leads, the clients.
Yeah, let's see who you might vibe with pretty well here. So I'll give you the options here, Mr. Goodfellow. You have Violet Thorne, a dowager, an elderly dame. Orrin Blackwood, a eccentric playwright. Sylvia Belrose, a statuesque socialite. And Vincent Pomeroy, a bachelor.
Got to be Orrin Blackwell.
Very good. Blackwood. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
We'll just fast forward to that. You can find Orrin Blackwood in the little sort of studio flat above a bakery where he lives somewhere in West London. I think he comes to the door. I assume you just go to the front door.
Yep.
He has a magnificent nest of feathery hair. He's wearing a bright silk vest and has ink-stained fingers. And he opens the door and he gives you the same look that a poet many years ago gave you. And he just says, hello? How can I help you?
Ah, yes, Orrin Blackwood, I assume.
Yes. And you are?
Robin Goodfellow. And I go to shake his hand, but noticing the ink stains on it, I kind of pull away and just pat him on the shoulder.
He says, what an interesting name, Mr. Goodfellow. It puts me in mind of another work, perhaps.
I get that a lot. Please let me
yes.
come in. And
Please,
I kind of
please
I
do.
shove aside him and walk inside his place.
Yeah, that's good. He says, you've actually caught me at a rather inconvenient time. I'm currently in the middle of preparations for making I'm making a few changes to some of the bard's work for a special midsummer performance later this year. But I can certainly spare a moment for someone who, well, don't take this the wrong way, Mr. Goodfellow, but you have the look of a muse.
Oh, I've been told such before, but that is quite an ambitious undertaking. Editing the work of the bard, as you call him.
Yes. Well, I think that in these modern times, there are certain aspects of the work that just doesn't land quite the same way, don't you think?
In my experience, the great stories always revert to their original forms.
Look at me. I haven't even offered you anything to drink or even asked you what it is you want exactly.
Oh, well, for the drink, I'll take brandy if you have it. And as for what I want, well, I understand you're a client of a certain shop in town that provides silk.
Oh, I think I know what this is in reference to. This all makes sense now. Are you from Scotland Yard?
Oh, no, merely an enthusiast.
Oh, yes. Well, if you're referring to the talented, incredible Ms. Beaumont, then yes, I have had a chance to stop by her shop on occasion, and indeed, she does. Well, she made this very vest I'm wearing. The silk is very, very fine, probably some of the finest I've ever laid my hands on, he says, pointedly looking at you.
I reach out and just kind of stroke the silk, touching his chest slowly, and I have a little flirty smile on my face.
He says, Mr. Goodfellow, I have to ask you, what is that interesting perfume you're wearing?
Musk, like a deer.
And he says, well, I've never been much of a hunter myself, but if this deer wants to give chase, I'm not above it.
Everyone hunts, my dear boy. The mere only question is the quarry.
Make the information move with presence.
Okay, I just noticed this, but with unquenchable thirst, associated when you perform an action that leverages your physical appearance, associated rolls are taken with advantage. Would this
That's
count?
right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Alrighty. That is 10 plus 3 is 13.
Very good. There are no more void clues to get, or void clues, mastermind clues to get, but you can certainly knock this one out of the park. We'll come back to it. Burnright, have you chosen to open yourself up to a question or to stumble on a clue?
I think with how stuff has been going and how much Miss Sand knows about me, I would like a question from Miss Sand.
If you have a question in mind, go ahead, Ms. Sand. Otherwise, we'll go back to Mr. Goodfellow for a minute.
The wording is delicate. I would like to know if you are getting above your station. You see yourself as a driver in the next several days.
I'm an contrarian. What I want is to exist in my station, but I have desires. I want to control everything in my life, but I also want to give that up to others. I want to serve, but I also want to destroy, to see the beauty in death. Mr. Goodfellow is very beautiful as he breathes and walks these halls. But I wonder, will he be more beautiful if he were splayed across them? Or what I really want is to encourage him to just go a little bit further, to become just like me.
When I see someone like Goodfellow, it's hard for me not to imagine them pinned to a specimen table. It's interesting that you feel the same way.
But a word of warning, I don't like the share. Not in this case.
Oh, don't worry. I have concerns of my own. That's always just been a backseat. I know he's yours.
Fantastic. Mr. Goodfellow, are you going to make love to Mr. Blackwood?
Oh, that goes without question.
Let's have a question. It does go with question. There's a question. The question I want to pose to you is, after this experience, will he go on to write a masterwork, or have you taken too much from him?
Ooh. Actually, I was thinking of using Giffith to make him my worshiper and essentially giving him notes on his edits of Shakespeare's work.
Very good. Yeah, I like it.
This is trash. This is garbage. And in return, I will give him the trophy I stole from Madame Gagnon.
He is very well your worshiper then. I will tell you that while you're having this afternoon delight with Mr. Blackwood, your clue, he doesn't tell you anything, but you discover an overdue bill for that vest that he's wearing. And there's a handwritten note with that bill in spidery letters warning the customer, Mr. Blackwood, quote, "Nothing worthwhile is without cost, and the price must be paid." That is your clue.
Roger.
While you are both laying in bed going over the works of William Shakespeare, I think he will turn to you and he'll say, "Mr. Goodfellow, you should know that I think you are the most magnificent specimen that has ever walked these streets."
I know.
And he says, "Mr. Goodfellow, I'm trying to open my heart to you right now. I'm trying to tell you that I think you're incredible. I think you possess a power that's divine. Are you still able to create light from your hands and feet? Is that still a thing?"
Yes.
Okay, like have you like I assume you keep that covered up or not, or
I kind of figured since I took the move, I can kind of summon it at will.
Oh, got it. Okay, good. So I'll let you decide on that. But he's basically like pouring his heart out right now, and you're just being very like, like, what do you say?
Oh, you're so sweet. And I think I go Orin, and I put my hand against his cheek, and I let the light of Apollo warm it. I say, "You have a beautiful soul, and so long, and it would be my pleasure to help you show your light to the world."
He says, "Yes, yes, that's wonderful. I would like that very much. I don't know if I will ever be able to repay you."
There's one thing I must demand first.
Name it.
Your work, your edits, they're garbage. There are some things you cannot improve upon. I want you to go to that fireplace there, and I want you to burn it.
He looks very hurt, but he will take up the pages. And before he gets to the fire, and he turns and he says, I've spent months on this, Mr. Goodfellow. Are you quite sure?"
Yes.
And with trembling hand, he throws the pages into the fire. "I think you might have destroyed him spiritually."
I want to, as he burns it, go up, wipe a tear from his eye, and tell him, "Very good, very good. From destruction breeds creation. And from these ashes, we will make something beautiful."
Yeah, I guess, well, I would say with that follow-up, maybe it wasn't destroying him spiritually. Maybe you have renewed him as well. But in any case, he's fine. He's good. He kind of coughs and says, "Yes, I believe that's right. When will I get to see you again?"
When I feel like it, of course.
And
Just make sure you have something for me to read when I come by.
he nods vigorously, and we'll end the scene there. We have a little bit of day left yet. Ms. Sand, anything you want to do?
I think I am gonna go to the ritual room and prepare my work table for a being the size of a person, say Bernright or Julius.
Very intriguing. That sounds interesting. Bernright, what are you doing?
Are you because like because I assume that scene is meant to be with Julius, but mentioning Bernright, that's interesting. I have to ask a little bit more into what your plans are, Mags.
Oh. I am going to wink wink nudge nudge at Julius for a little tete-a-tete in the ritual room, perhaps with the page, the knave.
Okay.
But you know, if that goes poorly, there's other options.
Mhm.
I would know you haven't seen the knave in a bit.
Mhm. I mean, he went suddenly missing in London a couple months ago. He might be catching up,
He
you
might be
know.
catching up. I think while you're down there preparing space, the Limehouse Lurker comes in.
Oh.
And it's daytime. And he's bleary-eyed. And he just like curls up in the corner of the ritual room and goes to sleep, or tries to go to sleep. And as he sits down, he says, I'm sorry, Miss Sand. I can't sleep in Father's room.
You are welcome to sleep here. What is preventing you from sleeping in his room?
It's that man.
That man?
That man who tried to kill Father.
Okay. I will be right back. Apparently, I should go check on the happenings in Julius's room.
Bernright, where are you right now?
I think, honestly, like I'm going about my business of the day, just like making sure the house is kept upright. And I think because I've been slacking on that a little bit, just because of like how self-absorbed I've been lately. So, like, I think I'm in the hallway amongst the bin rooms, just like cleaning up when I spot Miss Sand.
Miss Sand, you can certainly march up to Julius's room, and it's not locked because the lurker didn't even close it up behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in there, you see the knave floating in the middle of the room, spread eagle in the middle of the air, a bead of sweat trickling down his forehead, and Julius just asleep on the bed. What do you do?
I think he is young. He doesn't know how to choose a time and place yet. So, if possible, I think I am going to grab him and pull him out of the room if I can counteract the forces keeping him in place.
I think Julius's room is night for purposes of day-night move.
Mm-hmm.
What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'm afraid that Julius is going to wake up and I am going to have a fight in which he is actively trying to hurt me.
It's worse than that. The knave will be killed.
Mhm.
If you are content with proceeding, you can roll with, I'm going to say it's actually composure.
Can I offer a personal quarters item in this instance because I was outside the room?
Yeah, if Ms. San's okay with that.
I have Patrick's rosary.
Seems reasonable. You can roll with advantage as long as you use it, and Burnright marks that.
Thank you, because without that, it would have been bad. I rolled an 8.
An 8. And according to the move, I have to remind myself what it does. On a 7 to 9, you do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. I'll describe what it looks like. You'll be able to get him out. The complication or cost is quite simply that Julius knows not just the dancer is after him, but you are as well.
That's fair.
Go ahead and describe how you free him.
So I think I grab the knave, kind of like, because he's floating spread eagled. So I think I just wrap my arms around his midriff. But then I think Burnright tosses the rosary in. Like, Burnright has been very hands-on, but on the other hand, walking into an angry vampire's room by himself may still be a little beyond the. So I think Burnright tosses the rosary, and I hang the rosary on the knave's neck, which is enough for the suspension to fail, but the knave is still pretty catatonic. And so at that point, I just drag him out of the room.
And I think we see Julius, like, Julius doesn't move, but like the audience members at home see him like open his eyes and see that you're helping the
I
knave.
also think the knave has been wearing my colors. I think he's wearing like a crimson ascot.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's good. Let's check in with Mr. Goodfellow. Mr. Goodfellow, I'll give you one more scene too. What do you want to do?
I'll check out another client.
Yeah, so you've got elderly dame, young socialite, and bachelor.
Oh, the socialite.
Indeed. Her name is Sylvia Belrose. And she has a beautiful townhouse, not far actually from Belgravia, where Hargrave House is. Her servant shows you in, and let's see if we might have a paint the scene here. Let me look. No, we don't actually. No. She comes in, she's statuesque, and has, I would say, a very, like, for this time period, a very like kind of fashion forward kind of look. She's wearing just kind of like essentially just like a sort of decorative corset, and with a shawl, kind of for modesty purposes, and extravagant chunky jewelry, very, very like heavy eye makeup. And she steps out. She's very tall. She's like a racehorse, and very thin. And she has a long cigarette holder as well, cigarette lit. And she says, I have to tell you, I get very, very excited when people come to me and say, Miss Belrose, Miss Belrose, there's a mysterious, handsome, somewhat short man in the hall. And you tick all the boxes, my friend.
Well, I must say, I also get excited when I hear similar summons, and when I meet someone as tall as you.
Oh, don't be offended because I called you short. I like men pocket-sized. It's a
I'm
compliment,
of-
if anything.
I'll have you know I am of average height.
She says, of average height. And she says, well, let's not dwell on it.
That is a
Who are
lovely
you?
wardrobe, Miss Belrose. Where
Oh,
did
you
get
know, I
it?
like to keep it casual. It is my home, right? I can dress as I wish.
Oh no, I love the ensemble. I merely wonder where you got this lovely shawl.
Oh, yes. Well, there's and I will tell you, the shawl does bear the mark of Ms. Beaumont's work. It has like a fine, like kind of silver, what appears to be like very, very like silver embroidery, and it is. But if you look at it, you can see that it like makes a sort of vaguely spider web kind of pattern, right? She says, "Oh, this is the work of the fabulous Miss Beaumont. Of course, she was most distressed that I didn't want a full gown made from this fabric, but that's all right.
Is she somewhat of a traditionalist, I take it?
I think she just thinks that I was a missed opportunity for her. When you have a body like this, I mean, you wear clothes very well, right? Wouldn't you want to dress someone like this?"
I think I might prefer to undress them.
And she smiles. She says, "Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Tell me, sir, two things. One, what is your name? And two, have you ever heard of the symbolists?"
My name is Robin Goodfellow, and I fear I'm unaware of this movement.
Hmm. Well, Mr. Goodfellow, perhaps you'd like to join me in my parlor. We can talk all about it.
Yes, I would enjoy talking about that.
And she calls out, Jenny, Jenny, I'm going to be a minute. Don't come into the parlor. And she leads you down into the parlor. The heels of her shoes clack, clack, clacking on the marble. She is considerably taller than you.
Don't remind me.
And she turns around, looks at you very strong in the eyes, and she says, "Can you smell that, Mr. Goodfellow?"
Musk?
No. I was
Oh,
going to say it's the new perfume I got in from Paris.
it's lovely.
And are you pumping Miss Belrose for information, Mr. Goodfellow?
Yeah, I'm charmingly engaged in conversation. I ask her, what are these symbolists you speak of?
Indeed, indeed. And she'll prattle on about it. It's just some philosophical nonsense that's very, very in vogue in London at this time. Go ahead and roll the information move with sensitivity.
With present. Okay.
Or no, I'm sorry, presence. Yeah, presence. Yeah. And you can make it with advantage.
Okay, that is 10 total.
Nice. We'll come back to that. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. We'll come back, check in with Ms. Sand and Burnright, and then wrap up the scene with Mr. Goodfellow. Ms. Sand, the knave comes to a little ways down the hall. And he says, I'm sorry. I saw him and I acted. I had to do something. I couldn't wait.
Think about it this way. Once you hate someone enough, they no longer deserve whatever death you can contrive on the spot. They deserve something planned and slow. So take your time, make your plan, and I will help you when you have something that is substantial enough to execute. My plan has now been foiled. I had an extant relationship with him, and he probably would have taken me up on an invitation for some fun, which would have given both of us an opportunity. Now that that has been foiled, we have to come up with something slightly more clever. So take your time. It is okay that you acted, but
I know
it will
what we have
be
to
a
do.
plan. Yes?
I had time to think about it while I was hanging there, wondering how long he was going to keep toying with me. I let him feed on me. But we poisoned my blood.
Did you say them or him?
Just Julius.
Okay. Because I will not go so far as murdering the lurker.
No, I believe that boy is just another of no doubt many victims. He just suffered a different fate than I did. Use your
Yes.
powers, use your magic to poison my blood, and then let him feed off of my poisoned blood.
If that is the way you would like to attempt this, I will do so.
And Burnright, anything you want to do for the rest of the day?
Mm, I think I'm pretty good. I think anything I would want to get done would probably happen during the night phase.
You've got day work coming up anyway, I think. So
Mhm.
in that case, we'll check in with Mr. Goodfellow. Mr. Goodfellow, while you and Sylvia are enjoying a post-coital cigarette in her bed, which is a lavish thing covered in chartreuse silk sheets. She looks at you and she says, "Be honest with me, Mr. Goodfellow. Was it like a monkey climbing a palm tree for you?"
It was like a proud explorer climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
Mount Kilimanjaro?
You think
How-
you're an Everest?
Well, I think I would prefer to be one of the more demure mountains if possible.
What do you categorize as a demure mountain?
I don't know, a McKinley or something. I don't know anything about mountains. And then you will notice that she has a stack of like packages on the other side of the room, and she gets out of bed and she goes over to them and she says, "Oh, look at this. Speaking of Ms. Beaumont," and she holds up a gift box, a wrapped box. She says, "I wonder what this could be." And
Show me.
she goes to open it, and inside there is another fashion corset and this one is made of crimson silk, and she's sort of like running her hands over it, and she's kind of admiring it. And there's a set of matching gloves as well. And as she's running her hands along it, she goes, ah! And you can see that something has pricked her finger. There's blood beating up there. And then she undoes the corset and she says, oh my God, look at this. And then she shows you that it has been lined with thorns.
Every rose, as they say.
That's the clue, though.
Okay. Corset lined with thorns.
Yeah. Sent to Ms. Belrose, which might be an important detail. I don't know, but.
I think I go up, I raise her hand to my lips and lick the blood off. And I ask her, do you mind if I take this with me?
Not at all. And she gives it to you and kind of flops back down in the bed. And she says, if you find yourself in the mood to go exploring again, Mr. Goodfellow, by all means, let me know.
A pleasure to make your acquaintance, Miss Belrose.
And she hollers at Jenny to let you out. And Jenny will come let you out. And I think we'll call that the day phase. And so at this point, you have 8 clues, which is it's a great number for the first 2 questions. It's a flat roll if you get them all worked in for the last question. Do you all, if anybody has a theory they're ready to talk about now, we can go ahead and do it, or we can take another quick break to give you a minute to think about it. But what do we think?
Oh, I do have a very strong theory, but if anyone has like very strong feelings about this one, because I really have not done a lot of investigating for this threat.
Well, who does somebody want to throw something out there? I mean, sounds like you should go ahead, Burn, right?
Miss Belmont is recruiting people to become Fae.
Okay.
We've got, I think, like the fairy tales and that sort of thing has like stories of like changelings, and like it's like, oh yeah, the changelings, we kidnapped the children out of their cribs, and like there's corrections of like, no, we do not. This is for adults only, and those are the corrections in the fairy tale. There's a lot of like symbolism in the clothes, a lot of like silk and specific types of thread. So that's just weaving the magic on the people and causing transformation. And with like the thorn and stuff, I think that's like one of the final steps is to like incorporate a little bit of blood into the clothes. And the glass jar of spider husks, herbs, and human skin is just more or less like making sure the process works on like a small level.
So I don't think she's recruiting just anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And partly I don't think that because I don't think that the Fae work very well with blood. I do, but I'm not Fae. And the reason is because blood is made of iron. So I think what she is doing is looking for Tamlin. And Tamlin was stolen by Janet, and Janet Belrose, therefore, gets this torturous corset lined with thorns.
Okay.
She is inferring
Sylvia
death.
Belrose, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I know Sylvia, I know her name isn't Janet. I am just saying that she reminded
Oh, got it. Yeah.
seamstress of Janet, right?
Oh, great. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Partly because Janet plucked the rose, and that is how she found Tamlin to soul him.
Oh, I don't think I know the underlying myth then.
Ballad of Tamlin, which was, like Shakespeare, it existed at this time. Janet was a village girl who plucked a rose.
Oh.
Tamlin was a changeling guard sent to guard the rose. And so he met Janet and impregnated her. And then Janet was like, well, you need to be here for the baby. And so Janet stole Tamlin from a fairy hunt by pulling him from his horse. And so here we have the carriage with the green lantern still looking for Tamlin. We have the book of fairy tales, and Tamlin, of course, is a different fairy tale. So she was there for all of that. We have the herbs and human skin for the transformation she wrought upon Tamlin, trying to get Tamlin to be so horrifying that Janet would let go. Tamlin had called off his first engagement when she took him. And so this letter is ancient. Yeah, and then also the corset lined with thorns, which she just is still punishing those women who would steal her Fey Knights. Sorry, it's connected to the looking for people to become Fey. She is recruiting for her court and punishing those who would take her recruits. And that debt for the vest is part of how she recruits.
Oh, that is very clever.
That's interesting. Yeah. What about the severed hand with the fairy ring and in the fairy ring and the symbol in silver thread on the clothing? Is that just more of the...
Maybe the silver thread is part of the ritual. They need to wear this with this sigil and marks them as one of hers. And maybe the human hand is like the final step of the ritual. Is you take them to a fairy ring, they cast off their human form and embody their new faith, nature.
It's an emblem too, right? That she is looking for them to become her right hand.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. This is a pretty convincing theory. I like it. I like that it's like steeped in this like existing lore, which is a lot of fun, which I didn't know. So it's fun to learn that. I have to imagine Gabriel Robinson, who wrote this threat, was aware of some of this though. So yeah. Intriguing.
Not that Gabriel and I have ever talked about fairy tales.
Yeah, yeah,
someone
exactly,
else.
right. Yeah. I'm into it. Does everyone agree?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right.
Good fellow, you started this, so I think you should roll.
Oh,
So this is
man.
the third question, though, right? Like, what does the creature want?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're answering the third question. I meant Burnright started this, but on the other hand, Goodfellow is also appropriate to roll. I'm just saying, not it.
Good fellows Faye. Yeah. So.
Burnright, would you like to do the honors?
Yeah. And I say that all she wants, to stop kidnapping people, is having less of sort of an official agreement, because these people need to have a way out of their lives instead of just disappearing, turning into husks and stuff.
Intriguing.
So yeah, I think this also really implies that Harlow is still alive.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What's the, it wasn't a capital C clue, but it's certainly important context. I mean, that Ms. Beaumont has been draining these people of their everything, and some of them are arranged in her basement workshop. What is the connection there? Are those just failed experiments or what?
It's what the Fae ultimately want from their knights, right? It's entertainment. And since nothing changes in the Fae world, it withers people away.
Oh, that's good.
And so those husks of people who could not bring enough life to stay people live in her basement.
I like it. Okay, let's have a flat roll.
Okay. I guess I'm rolling.
Yeah, I think we decided you were.
Oh, that is a 7, a 6, and a 1.
That is a success, but she's going to fight you every step, basically, or the deal is going to be complicated, right? Like it's going to be a very, very like tough negotiation to reach an agreement with her. You can ease this if everybody marks Janus Mask, and we do have a freebie on the table with the Mask of Glamour, which someone can take. So that would just require just two people to make a mark on their sheet, and one person gets to make a mark on the Mask of Glamour as an option. Because this is basically your last chance to use the Mask of Glamour. So.
Yeah.
I would sort of like to mark the Mask of Glamour just because it would be fun.
Yeah, I'm fine with marking a mask of the past for me.
I'll mark a mask of the future.
Sounds good. Let me read the Mask of Glamour to you so you all know. It says, each hunter narrates a flashback to a time when they peered through the veil and glimpsed another world beyond this one. We all just did it last week, but maybe you can think of another time as well. But in any case,
for all of us right now, it's okay, which time though?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Fabulous. That all sounds good. Let's go to our phase tracker. Head over to the desk. Let's talk about the basement. No, let's do the servants' quarters. That feels like the mood today. Oh, actually, we have to do playbook moves too. Factotum, do you want to use Ghost of Hargrave House or day work? We have to do day work, but
Yes, day work first. Tidying up. I would say that during my cleanup of the house, we do have like multiple people living here, and they aren't I would say the cleanliest of flip folks, so I get to clean up after them and I collect some of the belongings. But I think I do find of an ice pick, and I'm going to give that to Miss Sand.
very interesting. Is that all your moves done?
And for the Ghost of Hargrave House, I am going to take the sapphire handkerchief from Mr. Goodfellow.
And now let's talk about the servants' quarters. These rooms are mostly empty nowadays, as given the place's history, very few people want to actually work at Hargrave House. They have most frequently been used as a place for trysts between the house's residents. What here reminds you of that?
It smells like musk all the time.
Very good. An impenetrable smell. No one can get it out.
There's in the servants' quarters, there is a place to do laundry, and for the most part, it's been kept up very well, but there's just extra pairs of sheets, far too many for the amount of beds in Hargrave House.
There's also a giant mending pile full of bloodstained and knife-slashed clothes.
Very good. Thank you all. Well, what is everyone going to do tonight then? I don't think everyone is needed to deal with Ms. Beaumont, especially because you now have a 10 plus on the opportunity pursuit. So that shouldn't be too difficult. So if you did want to do your trap on Julius, you can certainly do that, Ms. Sand. But nevertheless, I guess if we do want to clear this threat, we have to kind of we have to sort of figure out what kind of bargain do you intend to strike with Ms. Beaumont? What's the agreement going to be? No matter who negotiates it.
Maybe it's simply that, hey, listen, stop this, or at least cut back on the number of people you're abducting, and we're good.
Oh, I see. So if she just like slows down, you all will leave her alone.
Mm-hmm. Or in return, we send her people we don't like.
I was actually going to say, and I don't even think it's people we don't like, right?
Mhm.
I think we can just take over the recruiting.
Oh,
Because I'm also concerned, like if something happens to me, where's the knave going to go? I have responsibilities in this world now.
you've got a ghost widow. You've got the knave. You've got the lurker. You've got
Exactly.
Isn't there a ghost girl too?
Yeah.
That we use to get the lurker. Yeah.
So it's not, oh, we're going to stop you. It's, hey, we want in on your racket.
Yeah, exactly. We've got an excess of people right now. Okay, I'm into it. Okay, so then, Mr. Goodfellow, are you striking the bargain tonight? Then,
I'd like to be there for it.
okay, Burnright, are you going to go strike the bargain, or are you going to do something else?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Goodfellow on this one because it's just going to be interesting. Because, like, I think we've been through a stint of me just not talking to Mr. Goodfellow for a bit of time.
Okay, that sounds good. Ms. Sand, are you going to be on this, or are you going to deal with Julius?
I am going to deal with Julius.
Okay, sounds good. All right, plans are made. Let us keep going. Who wants to do the Janus mask? You can wait till the dawn, of course, but if you want to do yours now, you can certainly do it now.
We all do the Mask of Glamour, right?
Correct. Yeah, you all have to talk about a time you peered between the veils, or peered through the veil between worlds.
Yeah, I think, you see Robin in like a fairy glade, except he has an actual crown of like stag horns, satyr legs, green tattoos writhing across his body. And he looks into a spring and sees something there, a different world, a dark forest. And on a whim, he enters it and finds himself in this world. And he turns around and sees like a hunter or something drop his items and just stare at him in awe, get to his knees and bows down, worshiping him as a god. And you just see, the first like tilt of a smile turning up his lips.
Nice, thank you. Anyone else?
think Helena and the leader of the coven were alone together in a room. We're both teenagers at this point. And the leader of the coven is looking at Helena with a degree of thirst. And Helena bites her lip and then kisses each of the eyelids of the leader of the coven, and then spits a trail of blood into a bowl and tops off the bowl with something in a flask. And then they hold hands together as dark figures and dark presences trickle into the room. And from the reaction of the leader of the coven, you can see that this is her first time seeing these things herself.
Nice. Bernard, do you want to peer through the veil or wait till the dawn?
I want to peer through the veil, and I think we see a scene of Wormright running through the streets. His clothes are soaked with blood, and there's people shouting about like chasing after him, and he manages to go down this one alleyway, and it gets quiet, and he hears a voice whisper to him, "Oh, you can escape all of this. You just have to give up something valuable. They won't catch you because the blame will be put on someone else. All you have to do is give up your name to me." And I think the scene cuts there.
Good. Let's talk about the unseen for tonight. Tonight's unseen is going to be a show at Tavistock Hall that is in the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th row, I think.
H31.
Yep, that is it. A show at Tavistock Hall. This was one of the earliest custom-built music halls in London. While the business started as a pub with a sideline and entertainers, they commissioned a space specifically for performances. The clientele sit at tables cabaret style and can drink and eat while watching a variety show. It is an affordable luxury for London's working class, and the crowd at Tavistock's is already lively as the show begins. Everyone does paint the scene. I think Mads will do prompt 2. Chaotic can do prompt 3. And Sasha can do prompt 4. Let's take 5 and we'll come back and do the night phase. A show at Tavistock Hall. Paint the scene. Everyone, the audience, makes their way to their seats as the orchestra begins playing. Describe one of the audience members and how we can tell they have been looking forward to this evening.
I think you see one guy come in. He's like a big, tough-looking stevedore, naval tattoos all over his arms, but his eyes are kind of glistening, and you can hear him humming to himself like the tune of the show. And you can tell, he's been to this multiple times, and he gets like hyped up for it every time.
There is a father and son duo coming in, and like the kid is just like saying daddy daddy daddy, look at various things, like seeing the people get set up on stage, looking at like how big the crowd is, all the like weird smells there are, and that sort of thing, as kids usually like to point out everything.
A pair of women come in, and you can tell that they're kind of lower working class. I think it's possible that one of them is a familiar lady's maid or something, but they're both wearing new dresses. So this is the first time that they've worn these dresses, which, at the time. You'd get maybe one new dress a year. So
Ms. Sand, what are the initial preparations here with the knave? What are you going to do to enact his reckless plan? Or maybe it's not a reckless plan. Maybe it's a great plan. I don't know. But
well, you know, I cleared all this space in the ritual room, so I'm going to use it for something. So I think I lay the knave down on my table, and I will say I loosely bind his wrists. Excuse me while I briefly look at Rites of Salt and Smoke and make sure that I'm doing what I want to do. Yeah, I think so. I loosely bind his wrists, and I think he kind of starts at that because of our difficult past. But I tell him it is just because this is going to hurt. And I begin carving a name into his flesh in Greek letters. And I think specifically what I am doing, which I don't know if it's Rites and Salt and Smoke, but whatever, is I would like to invite one of my friends to possess him, but only partially. And when Julius bites him, for Julius to be biting them instead.
I like it. It's good. That yeah, I think it's probably Rites of Salt and Smoke. That makes sense to me. Go ahead and roll it.
I am using my freshly sharpened ritual knife for this.
Sounds good. And you're also in the ritual room as well.
Yes.
So I think you get a bump up on your stat too,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this should be a great roll.
Well, I'm still gonna use it. Yeah, that's a 13.
Nice. Very good. It's going to work. And furthermore, I'm going to give you the extra advantage of you'll have the scene with Julius, but you're not going to have to roll any dice to convince him to bite to bite the knave. We'll come back and we'll have you describe the ritual when we get back. Burnright and Mr. Goodfellow. Let's just have the scene with the two of you in the handsome cab, kind of huddled close together as the cab is taking you to Savile Row. We haven't had a scene with the two of you in a while, so role play.
I think the last time Burnright tried to murder me, so I think Robin is like sitting cross-armed, looking out the window very pointedly, but also dabbing at his forehead with Miss Belrose's handkerchief, trying to make sure Burnright notices it.
Burnright keeps on eyeing the handkerchief. Just what is this even? What do you want with me?
What could I possibly want from a non-entity such as yourself?
You go out all hours of the day, seeing those you fancy, and yet you expect loyalty.
Would you prefer I spent my hours with you, Burnright?
I'm concerned about you. I won't deny that. You seem so close as to losing your touch.
I believe your eyes deceive you, dear Bernhardt.
I worried that you will grow a little bit too soft for Hargrave House. Gain sympathies to those that do not deserve it.
What can I say? I am fickle. It is one of my best traits.
Mm. But it's not good to be so fickle that you don't have an identity, that you don't have a reason to be.
Are you lecturing me on a lack of identity, Bernhardt? You who gave up yours?
Even with the scraps I have. I think Bernhardt just pauses there, thinking about what to say next.
The hansom cab comes to a stop at an intersection, always an ominous thing in this game. And you hear the loud, wild roar of a large cat, and a streak of black tackles the cab driver right off the seat. Let's go back to Tavistock Hall. Mags. Parson Clapp is a larger-than-life caricature of a rural clergyman, performed by a male impersonator in a comical bit with jokes and bawdy songs. How does the act poke fun at the establishment?
I think the act opens with like a bit of shadow play, in which the silhouette of Parson Clapp kind of walks through the curtain and sees the silhouettes of two people who have obviously been entwined and said, come on, come on. No one gets to do that here except for me. We all know that. And then, later there's a joke where he goes, finally, time to savor the perfect body, and starts eating dry crackers. And then I think the very last scene, someone knocks on the door and says in kind of dramatic vampire, like this faux accent, I want your blood. And Parson Clapp just like throws a jug of wine out and it splashes. And then the silhouette of whoever was at the door tackles Parson Clapp to the ground, and things just fade to black.
I love it. Good. Let's have the ritual, Ms. Sand. What does this look like? How is the nave changing as you're doing the ritual?
So I think after it has rained all day, it's cool in here, but oppressively damp in the ritual room. And once I have the nave strapped to the table, I walk around the room, lighting these incense cones until the room is just thick and oppressive with it. And as I carve the name into the knave's chest, and he is naked and gasping on the table, he begins to writhe, and his toned ballet dancer's body is dripping with sweat. And when he rises. He smells of musk and blood, and is this kind of young Adonis. And his eyes, normally, have we discussed the name's eyes? Normally blue. There's definitely a shadow behind them, and he still speaks with the same voice and the same deference, but there's like an echo to it that sounds almost mocking.
Nice. Burnright, Mr. Goodfellow, the Fey assassin, lifts its panther head from the stomach of the driver. There are people running around screaming in the streets. It looks up at you, its eyes burning with violet flame. This was not sent by Ms. Beaumont. This is some other Fey work, some other Fey court. What do the both of you do as it stalks back towards the cab?
Well, Burnright, if you are so concerned about me losing my touch, how about you go out there and show me how it's done?
Of course, my lord. And I will hop out of the cab. And I think I still have it, but Obert's blade, yeah.
You just happen to have that with you?
Yeah, pretty much like I think like over time I've like kind of remodeled it, as it were, breaking it down into pieces so it can be folded in half. So it's not like this huge
It's very big otherwise, yeah.
it's very big otherwise. Like
Yeah. I'm into it. So you have that. What do you do?
well, I'm defending Mr. Goodfellow, obviously. I'm going to try to either injure this Fey assassin and like have it skedaddle elsewhere, or at least try to kill it.
Let's have a night move. You do get the bonus for defending Mr. Goodfellow directly. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'm afraid that I'm going to like misjudge, and like as I strike down, the Fey assassin will leap over my strike and bite me instead, and I die.
It's, well, I gotta make it worse. It's worse than that. It will, Mr. Goodfellow will be immediately imperiled as well.
Mhm.
Let's have dice. I think this is going to be vitality. But you can, if Obert's blade is unmarked, you can mark it. Actually, I don't think you have to though, because you're defending Mr. Goodfellow. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, these dice are not kind. That is a 6.
6. The Fey assassin leaps over your strike and catches you by the neck and twists its body in such a way that your neck snaps from the weight of it falling to the ground. We just hear a sickening twist and snap and chunk and clang as your body and the blade hit the ground. Mr. Goodfellow, you can see Burnright staring at you from dead eyes, but only because his head is twisted back to be able to look at you. And the Fey assassin rears back to strike at you.
I'm going to spend a mask.
You can spend a mask to bump it up to 7 to 9. I think you're going to get injured, but you are going to be able to kill the thing. Think about what that looks like when we get back. And let's go to the show at Tavistock Hall. Chaotic. The Aldrich Amazons are a pair of twin sisters who have devoted themselves to athletics and bodybuilding. What feats of strength and endurance do we see them perform, and how do we see they take pride in their bodies?
I think we see just this outfit that they wear, they're matching, but it's very much like skin tight and like sort of like bathing suits, like enough to be like not completely naked, but like nowhere near the standards of modest society. Uh, we see them do routines of lifting things up, mostly each other, in terms of like sort of almost like a ballet, but like showing off their muscles and just the sheer control and form of their bodies. I think if we cut a little bit forward and like after the show, like after their slow little routine, they are just excitedly chatting to each other about how well it went and like and new ideas for their next routine.
Miss Sand, you hear Julius at the door of the ritual chamber. He says, "Oh, I was saving him in case you wanted to enjoy him together again. A bit of a..."
Oh, I was hoping you would want to. When I brought him back, all I could think was reprising our initial meeting.
He saunters in. He's not wearing a shirt. He's just decided not to put a shirt on tonight. That's his prerogative. And he says, "And yet, I had him exactly where I needed him. I was hoping to share him with you tonight, and you saw fit to steal him away from my room. Why did you do that, Miss Sand?"
Oh, well, you chose the place of our initial meeting, and I just assumed that I would get to choose the place of our final meal together.
He says, "How is it that he is so much older than when we first sank our teeth into him, which was only months ago? This is not the young dancer. This is a man. Where did you find him?"
I want to know why you are surprised at that, actually, because do many of the people whose lifeblood you savor come back as their youthful selves? Or do they not experience a different pace of time on the
Well,
other
this was my
side?
follow-up question, Ms. Sand. How is he alive at all?
Oh, well, I traveled to another world and brought back a souvenir.
And so I am to believe that you have him all laid out here for our mutual enjoyment.
What else would he be here for?
And he kind of like hovers over the knave's face. He's looking into his eyes. And he says, "I don't know where you plucked him from, but it seems to have changed him in more ways than just physical ways. But I suppose that's what makes it interesting. It's like a surprise box. You don't know when you're going to get till you sink your teeth in."
Absolutely.
Well, shall I?
Have you ever experienced the flavor of the other side before? I think perhaps you should.
I'll get him started. And he says, "I know you aren't as equipped for making the initial incision as I am."
You're right. My teeth don't have your style, let's say.
And he bites down on his neck. Meanwhile, Burnright, describe instead how you managed to destroy the Fey assassin, but you also get an injury yourself.
I think I'm not so quick as on my feet as I was in the fragrant void, and the creature leaps before I had a chance to strike. But as it lands on me, clawing at my face, my arms, my body, it sinks into the blade itself, killing itself.
Mr. Goodfellow, Hazel Beaumont is on the streets. She is approaching the carriage or the cab, and she says, Queen Titania may have lost her power, but she still has those who are loyal to her in this world. I wonder why she's so determined to
And
kill.
Go ahead.
Well, I thought he was here to kill me, but I'm beginning to wonder if that maybe wasn't the case.
I and our queen have had differences in the past. Would you say the same of yourself?
Oh, yes. And just as a reminder, she goes about in she looks almost like a bag lady, but like rich. Like she's got just like piles and piles of like silk and fabric and things. Like she's almost like bell shaped because of all the fabric, and you just see her face and her hands kind of poking out. She says, yes, indeed. I wondered if she was going to ever be able to extricate herself from where we put her.
Well, this is the problem, don't you think? As long as she lives, she has some measure of influence, of power over those weak minds who follow her. The only way to truly cut the head from the beast is to cut the head from the beast.
Yes, perhaps.
And I don't think that can be.
I sense, kinsman, that you were on your way to speak to me. What is the matter?
Well, you've been very indiscreet of late, my lady.
Oh,
Plucking heads from all across London's upper strata. Such a thing gathers unfortunate attention that imperils the rest of us.
oh, are you feeling particularly impeded in your efforts to bed everyone in London's upper strata, Mr. Goodfellow?
Well, perhaps not me personally, but we must think of the little people.
I sense a proposal coming on.
It is quite simple. I and my erstwhile compatriots shall send you proper subjects to join your little army.
In exchange for?
Well, remember what I said about cutting the head from the beast?
I am to be enlisted in this effort then?
Well, I might need some help returning to our queen's prison, and spiders can get into such tiny little cracks to get wherever they want.
She seems to consider your offer, and she climbs up into the cab next to you. And we shall make our last stop, Tavistock Hall. Sasha Sartini the Superlative is an illusionist whose performances inspire wonder in the audience. What about his act demonstrates he may have some real knowledge of mystical traditions?
I think he's standing in the middle of the stage, preparing to do a trick in which an assistant comes up behind him holding a pistol, shoots him in the head, and as the audience gasps, he comes walking in through the doors of the audience hall and runs down to show himself in perfect health standing above his own dead body.
Nice. Ms. Sand, please describe Julius's destruction.
I think as Julius bites into the nave, my friend who I had invited to possess the nave possesses Julius instead, holding him still as I pounce on him with that freshly sharpened ritual blade, and the knave stands up fully himself again and joins me as we tear Julius into small little strips. Hopefully, the lurker, upon the knave being freed from Julius's room, has left the ritual.
Is no longer the ritual chamber, yeah.
But I was not specific about that at any point. So
I'm not sure how much filial loyalty the lurker has to Julius anyway, but very good. Mr. Goodfellow, how is the agreement in accordance with ancient Fae custom sealed between Hargrave House and Ms. Beaumont?
I think we return to her lair in the heart of her web. I lifted the veil from her face, and what do I see there?
She has a head that is a spider. In her true form, it is like the body of a woman, but the head of a spider with rows of red eyes.
I lay a kiss upon the spider's muzzle, and we seal it with the oldest tradition.
Mr. Bernhardt, what are you doing during all this?
I think because the cab driver's dead, and I had to drive the pair to the place, and I honestly get left outside, just sort of abandoned in the cold, covered in gore that I'm not really sure what the color is or the smell. It's probably musk.
It's probably a I'm imagining it's a Lisa Frank nightmare all over your clothing of glitter and who knows what else. Fantastic. Let's go to the dawn phase. Hey, rewards. Let's go get a reward. Okay. I'm going to clip a picture of this and pop it into a chat. All 4 of these rewards are unique rewards. There are no mementos from the investigation. But for people watching the video, it is a flawless suit or gown, somehow perfectly tailored to your measurements, added to your personal quarters. Sir Richard's silver-rimmed monocle allows the wearer to see through a disguise or spot a hidden clue, added to your personal quarters. A music box inscribed Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, however, the tune it plays is unrecognizable, causing strange dreams and delirious visions, added to your personal quarters. And a Venetian mask painted with crescent moons and stars. The world appears more colorful through its eyes, but may cause temporary blindness if worn too long, added to your personal quarters. Who wants what?
I'll take the music box.
Bird, right?
I think I get a flawless suit because I just think that's the most interesting option for Burdenright.
I will take the Venetian mask.
Feels appropriate given last session especially.
I also think, sorry, with the Venetian mask and my custom move, I think the dark presences
Oh,
when
yeah.
through the Venetian mask are like fully fleshed out people wearing clothes.
Oh, nice. Good. Yeah, I like it. It's good. All right, continuing on. Questions, Don, questions. I'm just Goodfellow. We don't have to do yours anymore. And in the interest of time, we'll just skip over to Ms. Sand. Actually, everyone, yes, you answered a question. Yes, you resolved the threat. And Ms. Sand, you definitely got echoes in the night. You definitely performed a ritual. And you definitely had a face-to-face encounter with the dark entity. Congratulations. I think you're all filled up too, though, in advancements. So yeah, it doesn't even matter. And let's go over to Burnright. Echo of the Night, Burnright?
I don't think so. I think we managed to like skedaddle away from those because like the Limehouse Lurker never showed up in the night phase.
Are you filled up too? Are you also maxed out?
I'm maxed out as well. So
Okay, so we don't have to do questions. Like, just who cares? Let's keep going. Playbook moves. Factotum, you can claim a memento if you wish. And otherwise, just Janus Mask. Yeah.
I think I'm going to say I'm going to take a trophy from the Fey Court Assassin. So
Oh, nice.
and I'm going to give that to Robin Goodfellow.
What does you take?
I think I take the head.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. And who has an open Janus Mask prompt to do?
I have two.
Oh, okay.
My first one is narrate a flashback to when your employer behaved in a way that was utterly indifferent to your dignity. I think we see just a montage of just of various times that Burnright kind of gets left outside. And the most recent one was this past night phase in which he got left out in the cold, covered in gore. Not the first time that has happened, and certainly won't be the last as long as he will be employed. My next mask is narrate a flashback that shows you how you had to engage in emotional labor in order to please or soothe your employer. I think this one is a little bit more wild back when Burnright was in more amicable mood, in more demean sort of manner. I think Mr. Goodfellow isn't used to being denied by people. And I think this is one of the first few times Burnright has seen this, where Mr. Goodfellow is going through like the equivalent of a breakup with someone. I think this is one of the few times that Goodfellow actually gets physically violent, in which he starts throwing stuff all about the Hargrave House, screaming off his top of his head, like, how could they do this to me? And Burnright just says that it's a moment of madness. Everything's all right. You don't have to go through all this. They don't know what you have. They can't see. They're completely and totally blind. They don't see what I see.
Nice. Love it. Any other Janus Mask?
Not masks. I have a reflection for Giveth. And I think I should still mark another one for making the kid destroy his work.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I said no because you gave him hope afterwards,
Okay.
so yeah. But
All right, I think you see black vines enwrap the branches of the statue.
Yeah. Nice. And I guess that's probably it, right? For everyone?
Yeah.
All right. In that case, let's do stars and wishes. I'll start today. I had a really good time. I enjoyed a lot of the banter between both side characters and principally Mr. Goodfellow, but also the various scenes between the hunters were all quite good. It all felt like leading up to a sort of finale sort of moment, which I think is terrific. Like everything feels, I feel like certain loose ends were tied up, certain like confrontations happened, and we're kind of going straight into the conclusion with Theodora, who I've not seen in a while. But I think we're kind of teed up nicely for that to be sort of resolved. And my wish is not so much a wish as much as it's a question. I'm very, very curious to see like which of these three characters, if any of them, make it out the other side. I think that would be very interesting. It's going to be tough, but I think it'll be, no matter what, the ones that don't make it in the struggle against Theodora will certainly have a fine dramatic end, I have no doubt. So I'm looking forward to all that.
Yeah, I gotta give a star for Miss San for that vulnerable move with Burnright. Just, it was so very good to like see that Burnright does have an ally in Hargrave House, and is like Miss San knows what to say to placate him. I wasn't quite so sure whether or not Miss San would either lash out at Burnright or kind of just let Burnright like be by himself. Also star for Sasha for literally getting the investigation done through, well, Mr. Goodfellow's normal means of persuading people. Also star for you, Jason, for I'm not sure if you said her name or not, or I just missed it, but like the like very tall, like rich lady, like
No, Sylvia Belrose.
yeah, Belrose, like she was just amazing. Actually taking Mr. Goodfellow like a step down or two, just like that was fun.
Yeah, I thought that was a great scene. I think that Mr. Goodfellow gave back as I think rolled with the punches really well there in that scene. So yeah.
I enjoyed hearing Burnright and Miss San discussing all the ways they would like to maim and torture me. That was fun. And yeah, rip to poor Julius. Good night, sweet prince.
My two wishes. Yeah, like I hope Miss San does not survive the coven and the mastermind. I like, out of character, I hope that. And I am sort of setting up the knave, like if there's going to be a vessel next season, the knave. And then two, I would really like a final scene between Goodfellow and Miss San. Those are my two wishes. I star for a lot of it. I appreciate, like you said, it's nice that Burnright has an ally. And I'm like, yeah, but there's still tension there. There's an implicit threat both ways. And I really like that. And so star for that. I also just Goodfellow getting called out at having slept with, everyone who's anyone in London. Major star for that.
It's literally what the playbook is built around.
Oh, absolutely. I just appreciate it getting some explicit acknowledgement out loud.
But yeah, My wish is that Mr. Goodfellow fills out the tracker for the reflection. Like,
Oh, I do too. I hope that gets filled. I want to see that scene. Yeah.
I want Burnright to make it to then. That's all I want. Like, I'm 2 masks away from like dying. Like,
Yeah, I'm 3 reflections away, and I'm very curious to see, like, I'm certain it's gonna happen. The question is when.
Fabulous. Any other stars or wishes? Let's have a final scene then. In London, at night. A venue, a boxing venue inside an old warehouse. People shouting, boxing happening. And 2 strange things. Friends that should not be friends. A dog and a polecat walk shoulder to shoulder away from the fight, down some stairs, deeper into this building, into a basement area, where they are greeted by a pair of serpents. The pair of serpents slither alongside the dog and the polecat. We are very, very close to having a sort of horrific Milo and Otis situation going on here. But nevertheless, these 4 animals go deeper down roughly hewn stairs. Indeed, they squeeze behind a wall that was built many centuries ago. And they go deeper. They go deeper into an old Roman ruin. These ruins, London, were built atop. London was built atop them. Most of them are lost, but not this one. There are a pair of torches down here in this ruin. And this motley collection of animals takes up a position, spreads out in front of a fresco illuminated by the torches. The fresco depicts a woman holding a key in her left hand, a dagger in her right, a strange wheel behind her. And that will conclude our session. I will see you all for the mastermind threat next week.